viewers, and welcome to a new edition of our program, Africa Today. The 8th Cairo high-level meeting of Chief Justice of African Constitutional and Higher Courts and Constitutional Councils kicked off on Monday. Addressing the opening session of the two-day conference, Higher Constitutional Court Chief Justice Counsel Fouad Fahmy said this year's session is held amid exceptional conditions that our countries run through. He said that a constitutional approach is needed to face the unusual circumstances and risks imposed by these conditions. For his part, Speaker of the Senate, Councillor Abdul Wahab Abdelrazik, addressed the African Chief Justice meeting, saying the great challenges that faced our countries in recent years have made us more persistent to continue drive to achieve a cultural rise-up based on the principles of coexistence. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Councillor Hanafi Gbeili, addressed the meeting, saying African sustainable judicial cooperation will strengthen African governance of development efforts and help ensure an equitable and comprehensive development. To shed more light on the issue, we are very much delighted to be joined over the phone by Ambassador Sou'ad Shalaby, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good day to you, Ambassador Shalaby. Hello? Ambassador Sou'ad?
Yes.
Good day to you.
Good day, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. A very important meeting is taking place for the head of the Supreme Constitutional Court. As the head of the Supreme Constitutional Court, Fouad Fahmy, said that the Egyptian state is open to the African countries, institutionally speaking, and is keen on enhancing cooperation with the African states in different domains. What's your take on that, Ambassador Shalaby?
Yes, this is an important meeting. It's not the first one. It has been taking place before in Cairo, and Cairo is the hub for these important meetings, high-level meetings of chiefs of constitutional courts, Supreme Courts, and African constitutional councils. And it comes as part of the constitutional cooperation between Egypt and the other African countries that are members of this meeting. So it is, of course, this meeting, which will take place today for 2 days, it will include participants and representatives of constitutional courts from 35 countries. And also 5 international organizations will be also meeting. So it is something that Egypt is always keen to invite and to cooperate with African countries and host them for this important event.
Indeed. Ambassador Shalaby, Fahmy said that the 8th high-level meeting of the chiefs of constitutional courts, Supreme Courts, and African constitutional councils come as part of the constitutional cooperation between Egypt and the African countries. How do you see this cooperation in this very particular and important domain?
Well, as you know, there has been many breaches of constitutional arrangements and in many African countries, in the Sahel region, in Sudan, in Chad, in many countries that has been affected by the terrorism or the unconstitutional plans that happen. So it is this meeting offers an opportunity for the representatives to find out the constitutional issues, to discuss the constitutional issues of mutual concern, and how to boost the judicial, legal, and constitutional cooperation, so that they learn from each other. There's lessons learned between countries. What can they do as a legal solution? How can they face the global disputes on African economies, for instance. How can they face the challenges that are facing the countries, whether they are legal or constitutional? So there is a role that these representatives can play, especially when they are together to discuss the challenges that they are facing in Africa and against the whole world.
Ambassador Shalaby, do you agree actually that hosting such a galaxy of representatives of the constitutional experts in Cairo is reflecting the pivotal role that Egypt is playing in the constitutional justice domain?
Yes, of course. This is the second time that Egypt hosts this high-level meeting, and because Egypt is a very important country in the protection of African constitutions, and also for future generations, they need to support the needy under the principle of social justice. So Egypt is a pioneer in this regard.
Indeed.
And of course it is important to find out the optimal use of resources, whether they are natural or human resources, in order to achieve sustainable development. So this is also one of the roles of the meeting, that they will try to find out how to relieve the negative impacts of global disputes on African economies, and also find solutions to and find initiatives for legal and constitutional ways and means to discuss together in this meeting.
Indeed. Ambassador Sou'ad Shalaby, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you so much for your precious input. Always a pleasure. And Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Egyptian Expatriate Affairs, Badr Abdelati, had talks over the phone with the foreign ministers of Tanzania and Comoros, Gambia and Madagascar on boosting economic cooperation and mechanism between Egypt and the African countries in different domains.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Badr Abdelati had talks over the phone with the foreign ministries of Tanzania, the Comoros, Gambia and Madagascar, the boosting a cooperation mechanism between Egypt and African countries in various domains. In statement, a spokesperson for the foreign ministry, Tamim Khalaf, said that Abdelati asserted Egypt's keenness to continue supporting African countries in priority areas including infrastructure, renewable energy, education and health. He also expressed Egypt's readiness to continue providing technical support and training programs and developing capacity building in African countries. Abdelati stressed the importance of beefing up trade exchange and economic cooperation with African countries, underlining the Egyptian company's significant achievements in Africa and their readiness to intensify their activities in the continent with a view to helping African countries in development efforts in various domains. During the phone calls, Abdelati reviewed Egypt's efforts to boost regional security and stability and continental and inter-regional integration. He also stressed the importance of coordination to face cross-border challenges, including those related to terrorism, climate change and food security. Abdelati underlined the need to consolidate cooperation among African countries within the framework of the African Union and other regional organizations to enhance development in Africa in a way that shores up African cooperation and serves the African people's interests.
Egypt is among the most important 5 African countries that help in the growth of the economy of the Africans, with the gross domestic product GDP $348 billion due to its strategic position and the revenues of the Suez Canal, according to data of the Business Insider in Africa.
According to the data of Business Insider Africa, Egypt is among the most important 5 African countries that help in the growth of the economy of Africa, with gross domestic product GDP $348 billion due to its strategic position and the revenues of the Suez Canal. The GDP of the Africa countries reached $2.8 trillion in 2024, supported by the major 5 economies in Africa, the data showed. The list also included South Africa with a GDP of $373.23 billion due to the strong financial position of the country. The GDP of Egypt, South Africa, Algeria, Nigeria and Ethiopia represent half the GDP of Africa. Meanwhile, the United Nations said it's optimistic that Africa's economic growth will accelerate in 2025, with regional gross domestic product GDP expected to expand to 3.7% from the estimated 3.4% in 2024. This growth will be driven by economic recovery in Nigeria, South Africa and Egypt. According to a recent report by the UN, the continent's positive outlook will extend to 2026 with a regional GDP growth projection of 4%. Nigeria's economic pressure arising from major policy reforms in energy subsidies and foreign exchange management are expected to ease as the economy nears the end of challenging transition phase, with consumer prices and exchange rates beginning to stabilize. It further stated that the road to Egypt's economic recovery will be paved by increased revenue generation. In the first half of 2024, Egypt saw improvements in its balance of payments supported by funding from the International Monetary Fund and the investment agreement with Abu Dhabi Development Holding Company. Meanwhile, East Africa is projected to see faster growth than other regions in the continent.
Well, our dear viewers, that would bring us to the end of this edition of our program Africa Today. Till tomorrow with another crew, I'm Shalaby signing off. Many thanks for watching.